Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the editions of the Current Affairs News, and I am your presenter at Germano Media, Adam Anjai. January to on the 12th of January, and our headlines are: Solo Sandeng gets heroes farewell. Government poor investment in agriculture makes target impossible to reach. And Justice Minister says Solo Sandeng was a catalyst to Gambian democracy. And now the headlines in details. Bid farewell to Sland's regime of exiled dictator Yahya Jammeh. Sandeng's only crime was holding a peaceful protest asking for electoral reform. Protest for any sort was taboo under Jammeh, who responded by unleashing of brutal terror, touching Sandeng to death and gravely injuring many others. The mightiest body was exhumed from a dislocated corner of the secret police compound in Tanje and went through a court process which ended in a life sentence for the head of notorious NIA and 4 others, prompting way for the Sland's activists remain to get a befitting burial. Gambia government started a state funeral yesterday at a now renamed Never Again Arch, where politicians, government officials and family paid tribute to the hero of the nation. In a riveting, moving tribute, Alhaji Mustafa Dabo, a representative of the Sandeng family, said since he dismissed the family of Sandeng remained neglected by the state, he died for the cause of this government, yet no one came to his family's rescue since his killing. He allied Semin, many of Sandeng's now powerful former colleagues. Mohammed Sandeng, son of Solo, said although his father epitomized peace, tolerance, and sacrifice for a greater cause, his legacy is yet to be honored. In our loss, a country found an opportune moment to unite towards a new beginning, towards a progressive nation through the selfless and true actions of a man who was fully conscious of the gruesome consequences that may befallen him despite the threatening realities of coming in contact with the callous and brutal nature of that dictatorship. Solo Sandeng decided to give his life up for a what greater good, young Mohammed said. He added that the nation must reflect on how far it has come toward achieving the true meaning of the values that lead to the sacrifice of his father and colleagues. Are you happy that after 7 years we are here? His eulogy, the Secretary General and party leader of the United Democratic Party, Ousainou Darboe, described Mr. Sandeng as an ordinary citizen who achieved an extraordinary outcome for the Gambia through selfless devotion to principles he believed in. Those principles were anchored in his firm belief that democracy was the best form of self-government for all who, under the tyranny of Jammeh, was conscious and aware of the death, torture and disappearance that were the hallmark of that cruel regime. But he was never the one to be covered. He believed that the price of freedom required sacrifice, and he possessed the courage to face the dangers that stood between what obtained and what he aspired for. Solon believed that as long as there exists a Gambia, there must be a Gambians ready and willing to fight for its freedom. Mr. Darboe said Sandeng died in the battle for freedom, in the battle for a better democracy, for which they paid the ultimate price, naming monuments after them and giving national funeral to Solo conduct, manifesting the core principles of freedom and democracy he advocated, and believed it would be a more befitting tribute to him. Darboe concluded the ceremony at the Arch was followed by prayers at the Dibakunda Mosque and burial attended by a massive crowd, including religious and political leaders and diplomats. That was the story of the Standard newspaper about Solo Sandeng's burial. And government's poor investment in agriculture makes target impossible to reach. There's another article also on the Standard newspaper that talks about the investments in agriculture. Retired Gambian international civil servant Lamin Mane has said the lack of sufficient investment by government in the country's agriculture sector makes it impossible to reach targets for food sufficiency. Among others, Mr. Mane, a former staff of the African Development Bank, cited 200 million allocation to agriculture in the country's 2022 budget as far as sort of the commitment African heads of state made in Maputo to commit 10% of their country's budget to agriculture. In 2021, agriculture was allocated 400 million, but in 2022 it was reduced to a mere 282 million, less than 2% of the national budget. Yet the Maputo Agreement requires African states to dictate at least 10% of their national budget to agriculture. In other cases, this should be almost 303 billion in 2022, but no, only less than 2% of the budget was allocated to agriculture. Mane, who is also a member of the opposition's United Democratic Party, an expert in the international law and development management, Mane said government cannot claim to have taken agriculture as a priority sector when they devoted less than 2% of the national budget to it. He argued that the same government gave the National Assembly many times more than what it gives to the entire agriculture sector, and also gave the president's office twice more money than the agriculture sector. It doesn't make sense, and yet we blame everything on the Ukraine-Russia war or a COVID, but that we cannot provide food because of the Ukraine and Russia war or because of COVID is around, he asked. The Gambia headed, he added, it's just over 2 million people in a population less than the 7 years of independence, even with and even export some. He said Mali, which is a landlocked and in most part of a desert, has to build dams to be able to farm in exporting agricultural products, and we don't need dams here. Also, if we develop the sector, we can do a whole year-round farming, employ thousands and make Gambians wealthy. We will be able to supply our hotel industry, who are importing most of their commodities to the Gambia. That should not happen. Those monies should be stay here. What are we using to import rice, oil and all what not if we produce it here? We could use those monies and invest it elsewhere while we export, Mr. Mane said. He said the country cannot be sustained as a tax-based economy because it will eventually tax all business to death or make people avoid tax paying or paying taxes. Mr. Mane lamented that the poor quality of poultry being imported into the country and the oil are having a devastating impact on our health, with people suffering from high blood and other ailments. A well-developed agriculture sector will take care of all that, he added. That was the story about the investments of agriculture in the Gambia, and then it is a poor move by the government that is having just less than 2% of the national budget for agriculture. And we move to another story, that is Justice Minister reaction to Solo Sendeng's burial, and who said Solo Sendeng was a catalyst to Gambian democracy, according to Justice Dawda Jallow. The Minister of Justice Dawda Jallow has described the late UDP youth leader Solo Sendeng as the catalyst to Gambian democracy. Speaking at the Mighty State Funeral Service Tuesday, Mr. Jallow said the large number of people who saw up to pay their final respect in a manifestation of the Solo's love for the motherland. In whatever role we knew him, from whatever vantage point, he stood apart as someone special. Mr. Jallow acclaimed Solo was a catalyst to our newfound democracy. He inspired the masses to express desire and vote for change and freedom. Solo's legacy has inspired us in our current security sector reforms and the transitional justice process as a whole. Jallow said the government is committed to ensure that the fate of Solo doesn't befall any other Gambians. Solo is remembered as a jovial, caring and kind supporting individual by his family. He is remembered for his tolerance and commitment toward democratic ideals. Although we lost him to an appalling atrocity meted out on him, we wish to remember him as somebody who fought for his country, and we remember him for his braveness, determination, patriotism, he said. Mr. Jallow said the government is committed to safeguarding the legacy of Solo Sendeng. We can only strive to do better and continue to strengthen the work done toward achieving a system that is built on the foundation of rule of law, democracy, strong institutions, good governance and justice. It is indeed heartwarming for Solo Sendeng's family and the country that we have attended justice for him. We wish to reiterate that his legacy, braveness, determination and patriotism, he said. Mr. Jallow said the government is committed to safeguarding the legacy of Solo Sendeng, we can always strive to do better and continue to strengthen the work done towards achieving a system that is built on the foundation of rule of law, democracy, strong institutions, good governance and justice. It is indeed heartwarming for Solo Sendeng's family and the country that we have attended justice for him. We wish to reiterate that his legacy will continue to live on in the history of our democratic transition as a nation. Solo will be missed by many, but he will never be forgotten in our hearts. So those were our stories for today, and we just going to recap the main stories of the news for the current affairs on Jamano Media here. Solo Sendeng gets farewell hero, and also Gambia government investment in agriculture makes target impossible to reach. Justice Minister says Solo Sendeng was a catalyst of Gambian democracy. Thank you for joining us, and if you are just watching once again, yes, I am your presenter Adam Anjai for Jamano Media and Product and Canifin here. Thank you all for watching. Say goodbye till next week on Monday, inshallah.